I think that's a fairly optimistic assessment from the president, but not uncommon when it comes to this ongoing months-long negotiation between the two biggest economies on the planet. That was perhaps more aimed at his base, the supporters of Donald Trump back in 2016, the ones who are actually getting caught up in this trade war between these two countries at the moment. We had a more nuanced take and assessment on how things are actually going from Larry Kudlow earlier when he was speaking to Fox News, and he said, you know, this is going to cause pain for both sides, although he did stress that the strength, what he called a terrific US economy, meant that the United States was better placed to deal with it than, say, China, describing China as, you know, more reliant upon its export market, far more so than the United States. He also broke from Donald Trump in an unusual move, because Donald Trump likes to talk about these tariffs in a way that they are bringing in billions and billions of dollars into the US economy. Larry Kudlow, when pushed on this interpretation of the import tax, actually said, you know, admitted that he knew that wasn't the case, and instead it was US companies, the ones importing from China, who are being hit by these tariffs being imposed on those Chinese exports by the United States. Donald Trump's constantly touting that this is a good thing and he wants it to last as long as possible. But that theory, that economic theory, is constantly extinguished the moment he releases it, whether it's, you know, in Twitter or from the White House or whatever stage of these negotiations he said, because that simply isn't the case, even if the president himself believes it is.
Kevin, there had been a feeling that a trade deal was within reach until talks ended without a breakthrough on Friday. So where does this leave negotiations?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Everyone thought we were on the brink of something last week when the two sides came together, and then suddenly it falls apart. It falls apart at exactly the same moment that Donald Trump announces that huge tariff increase on some $200 billion of Chinese goods. That was a very significant move, you know, designed to sort of show that the US was in charge of these negotiations, or certainly that was the message the administration is trying to put to China. China doesn't really want this to play out in public in the way it has been. The United States accuses China of reneging on certain commitments it made in a draft deal over things like forced tech transfer, intellectual property rights, state subsidies, which the US says makes it hard for them to compete. We also know from the administration that there are plans already set for further tariffs, and additional tariffs on $325 billion worth of Chinese goods. That will represent a massive escalation, because that's effectively all of the Chinese exports to the United States. Once those come into effect, they could be months away. And before they come in, if they come in, we're also waiting for a response from China. China has said it has to take retaliatory measures following what happened last week. We don't know exactly what they will look like, but it has obviously imposed tariffs on US exports. So we could see those increase. We could see maybe China go after some US companies in particular, specific US companies doing business in China. That's another option Beijing has. And the other thing, of course, China can do is look to other markets, because, you know, the United States isn't even China's largest trading partner. That title belongs to the EU. So, you know, there's a great deal at stake, and not just for the United States, not just for China. Both sides will feel pain in this tariff war, but for the global economy, you know, these are two trading giants, the biggest economies on Earth, and there will be reverberations felt beyond their borders.